Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be jumping back into DC Dark Legion and we're going to be talking about a tier list. Yes, I know the game has only been out for a week, so is it too early? Some people say yes, some people say no. Apparently, I say no. So a couple things I want to talk about. I want to talk about this tier list that I've been working on with some other people, but I also want to talk to you about how you reset characters because it is not obvious in the game, and that's going to really help you out as you use this list and experiment with the different characters. There's a lot to discuss, so let's get into it. All right, and welcome back. Before we get into the tier list, I want to go over a couple things. First, no tier list is perfect. It is strictly subjective. It's based on the experience of the people who provided input to create the list. So just to kind of give you some backstory on this tier list, we started this tier list a couple tests back. A lot of us have played this game as currently as well as in the previous tests that go all the way back to January. I think a couple even played it back in, what was it, October last year. So it's based off those experiences. There's been a lot of changes. I would say expect more changes because this is not a maxed level tier list. It's not a max star level tier list. This is just us putting together a list of characters that work very well for right now. In the early to mid game, that's working well. Nobody's really in the end game. And I would expect a lot of change as this game continues to develop. So just take this tier list with a grain of salt, use it as a form of advice, and just play around with the different characters, different compositions, things like that. I'm going to talk to you about the tier list. But first, before we do that, one thing about idle games, this is an idle game. This is an idle combat game. It has idle mechanics. And one thing that is normal amongst idle games is the ability to reset characters and recoup resources that you put into those characters so you can put them into somebody else. We do have that in here. It doesn't go over it in the tutorial. So what you want to do that is you go to a character, go to details, and it's this button right here. If you were curious, you probably found it, but you click that. That's going to allow you to reset your character. It's for free up to level 70. Beyond that, I don't know if they charge you. Before in one of the tests, it just wouldn't let you do it. So once we get characters higher than level 70, I'll be able to figure it out. If you know, let me know in the comment section. But right now, it's for free. Now, it doesn't give you absolutely everything. It'll reset your character to level 1. You'll get all of the leveling up and tiering up type materials back. One thing you won't get back are these force upgrades. So this is a skill tree here. You won't get these resources here back that you put in there. So just keep that in mind as you go through. But experiment with different team compositions and kits and skills and all that stuff. Use this tier list as kind of a guide to maybe guide you to some cool teams, some cool characters, or maybe a good place to start. And then if you want to help with the tier list, definitely go to my Discord. There's a tier list section in there. I welcome any and all input. I want to make sure that this is something that is very useful to everybody as we continue to develop. There's already updates to this tier list that I'm planning on to happen this week. I'll put a link to the Google Docs document in the description below so you can go in there. But this is a very truncated tier list, and we're going to be expanding it out and adding quite a bit of detail to it. But let's go ahead and talk about some things that we look at. So when we take a look at these lists, obviously, if we're taking a look at damage dealers, we're looking at how much damage that they do. A few things that you want to keep in mind as you look at this tier list is also synergies. There's so many different types of synergies that these characters have. So if I just go to Wonder Woman right here, go into one of her skills right here, powerful artifact. So at the start of a battle, all powerful artifact allies gain 1 stack of 12% defense up, which is great. That's not the only one. You go to Mera, almost everybody's got some sort of synergy here. This one here for Mera at the start of battle, for each female ally present other than Mera herself, her healing amount increases by 2.5%. There's a JLA one. I'll show you about him. Batman is cool. He definitely needs to be in a JLA team. But if you just take a look at these synergies right here, it's Justice League. So if there's one ally present, then his basic attacks have a fixed 20%. If 2 are present when Dark Knight Detective is triggered, you can see the different ones. And if all 4 are there when casting Batmobile, the skill is cast again on the furthest enemy. So those are some things to keep in mind as you're building your teams. Also, make sure you take a look at force. These are the skill trees, and in here, not only do you get stat increases, You also have some ability upgrades in here as well. So like this one here, Batman's physical defense increases by 6. You can see this one over here. Duration of smoke bomb increases by 1 second. So keep those in mind as well. Also, a thing I want to point out before we go and take a look at the tier list is take a look at this down here. This up arrow here not only tells you different types of heroes like their classes and stuff, but it does show synergy. So with Powerful Artifact, we just talked about with Wonder Woman, we can click Powerful Artifact here. There's only 2 characters that could take advantage of that synergy right now. Something to keep in mind as you play around also, if you want to figure out kind of who synergizes with who without having to go into every single kit. All right, so let's go ahead and go to the list. So this list here, I've only got this separated into best, middle of the road, and bad. So the best way to look at this, and if you go to my Discord and go to the tier list discussion channel in there, and in the pins is where I will have these updates, but I also have posted in there kind of how to look at this. So best is what I would consider SS plus. Middle of the road is going to be your A's and your B's on a typical tier list. Bad is going to be your C's and D's. And then we've got some characters here that we were untested. There has been a lot of movement with this, and I would expect a lot more. This is a nice curve, though. Typically, you're not going to have a ton in your S plus category, right? You're going to have more in the middle of the road. You're going to have more in that AB category than you do in your S and your S plus. And then hopefully not a lot in your C's and D's. A few things I want to point out here. So Superman, previously, if you saw this on a previous one, he was in best, but when you take a look at him and you build him out and you put him up with teams, his damage is actually not very good. You have characters like Green Arrow who out damage him. You've got Two-Face and also Black Adam that out damage him as well. So when you take a look at that, just like a 1-for-1 comparison and doing tests against bosses in Combat Cycle, that's where a lot of these tests are done. His damage is super low, and he's a warrior. He's not a tank in there. He's a warrior in the game. So he's kind of a, I don't know, I guess you could say damage dealing tank is kind of how I look at the warriors. But Wonder Woman is a great tank. You start off with her. She's one of the only tanks in the game. There's very few tanks in the game right now. Poison Ivy is great. She's got great healing. She does some AoE damage as well. She's not classified as a support in the game. She's classified as an intimidator. Maybe that's a misclassification though, but she does very well with healing and with some AoE damage. Deathstroke is great. I haven't got him in this new build, but previous builds he's been awesome. Batman is great. You get him free on day 7. He's got some nice AoE damage, great synergies with the JLA team. Definitely someone that you can invest in and feel comfortable with. Constantine is amazing. I love this guy. I like him in this game. I like him in other games. But he's got some abilities that when he puts this symbol out on the ground and you have teammates that use their ultimates, that symbol does some damage, does some AoE damage out there. It lasts for a certain number of turns. And it's really, really cool. He does a great amount of damage. He's fun to play around with. So those are the ones currently classified in best. Just picking a few out of middle of the road. Green Arrow, you start out with him. Very high damage. I have enjoyed using him from the very first day, and I just continue to invest in him, and I have not been disappointed. He does some great damage. Lantern is great for healing. You get him through the Green Lantern event. That Green Lantern event, just as a heads up, I know it has a time limit on it. Forget the time limit. It is indefinite. It will go until you complete it, so don't feel stressed or rushed. He is a great healer to have. When I take a look at healers, I look at them as far as the tier list goes here, my favorite to least favorite. Poison Ivy is my favorite. Green Lantern is my second favorite. And depending on the battle, I'll go with Green Lantern instead of Green Ivy or vice versa. But those are definitely my top 2. The next one down is going to be Raven. Raven's got a bit of an issue where she swaps with other characters, and sometimes she swaps into the wrong position and she dies. Not good at all. Mara, she's at the bottom for me as far as healers. She does pretty good. Some people really like her. For me, in my experience, though, that's kind of how I would put them. Let's see. Harley Quinn is great. You get her if you want to purchase her for like $1 or $2. She's definitely worth it. Really good in early to mid game. Batgirl, she is great when you pair her up with characters that benefit from increased crit. So she will definitely improve the damage of your team. So if you think of her, pairing her up with other characters like Red Hood or Red Robin, Little Robin as well. So definitely keep an eye on that. Two-Face is great AoE damage. Red Robin is great. I actually use him as kind of a pseudo tank. He's a warrior class in here as well, and he does great with some good AoE damage. Once he crits, his defense increases. He also gets an increase to resistance against spiritual damage as well. There's a lot of different types of damage in this game, but he is great. Black Adam, he is good. I still prefer Two-Face over Black Adam, but they do different types of damage. Two-Face does physical damage, where you have Black Adam who does spiritual damage. So kind of got to keep that in mind too. The enemies that you go up against, do they have a resistance against one or the other? Penguin is great, AoE as well. Red Hood is fun. Red Hood has a bit of an issue where his ultimate puts him in the middle of all the mobs, and then he just dies really, really quickly. I don't know if that's intentional or if that's something they're going to fix, but he's great. I guess I'm going through more characters than I thought I was going to go to. Bad. Now, be careful with Bad. With Bad, C's and D's, they're not absolutely horrible. I would call these more situational. They could be useful depending on the battle and the composition of your team. Like Flash. Like, for instance, Flash, you pair Flash up with Constantine. Flash has an ability to instantly refill the energy of the character that has the highest attack when it's on auto, or you can choose if it's manual. So you pair him up with Constantine. Constantine will do his ultimate twice fairly quickly, which is pretty cool. Catwoman's free. She's okay. I'm not a big fan of her. She's okay. Cyborg, support. He's okay. The problem with him is he heals himself, nobody else. Nightwing, actually, we should move Nightwing. Nightwing is getting a whole lot of buzz right now. I almost want to put Nightwing into best, but I'm going to hold off on that for an update that's going to be coming so you can see kind of where we actually do put him. But if you got some thoughts about any of these characters and where you feel they might be, let me know in the comment section. Join us on Discord. We've got a lot of conversation happening over on my Discord around tier lists, strategies, and so many other things. Again, I will drop a link to this in the description below so you can go ahead and take a look at it. You can see all these untested characters as well. But that is the beginning. That is the very first tier list for DC Dark Legion. Again, very truncated as we've only got those 3 columns, but over the next week, you're going to see a lot of updates, so keep an eye on the link, keep an eye on the Discord. If you want to contribute, definitely join us on the Discord. That is what I had for you, everybody. Hopefully it's helpful. Hopefully it sends you in the right directions and give you some good thoughts around some team compositions. I'd love to hear from all of you. As always, I want to thank you all for taking the time to watch the video. If you liked it, make sure to hit that like button and share your thoughts and questions in the comment section below. Take care, everybody, and we'll talk to you next time.